Not all florals are light and breezy and free and easy. There are florals that are deep, dark, mysterious and gothic. My kind of florals. Want to hear what they are? Hi, I'm Gabby and welcome back to another edition of The Fragrantician, where here on this channel we talk about nothing but fragrances. And if you can hear some purring, then my cat is on my lap. So, today we are talking about deep, dark, mysterious, gothic florals. Florals that aren't light and easy and breezy. Some are pretty, some. But they all are accompanied with some notes of pepper or cumin or animalic notes, and these are the ones that are in my collection. Now, I was looking at Maria Colette. I'll link her channel down below. She recently did a video on 10 floral fragrances. So I looked at my collection and thought, well, I have lots of florals. I could have talked about 20, 30, 40, 50 easily, but I didn't want to bore you. Because let's face it, some of you may well be bored with me. But I wanted to choose 10 that were different and not many people talk about nowadays. And some that do talk about, I'm going to hype them up even more. So let's jump into it. Is the gothiest, if that's the word, the most gothic floral of them all, Tuberous Criminal by Serge Lutens. And this is a tuberose on steroids. This is all about tuberose. And if you love tuberose and you've smelt this and you think, wow, you haven't smelt what tuberose is like. This is almost, as I've said it before, medicinal, gasoline. Well, it is. When I wore it, my husband said I smelt like a hospital, and I loved it. I'm not selling it, am I? Who would want to smell like a hospital? I would. But I'm weird. But Tuberous Criminal is that tuberose that is pungent and strong. It is my Rocky Horror Picture Show floral, the best deep, dark, gothic tuberose, really challenging, not for everybody, not wearable for some, but wearable for me. Serge Lutens, Tuberous Criminal. Next one may appear light, but it has darkness, and it has mimosa and iris and rose, but a backbone of sweet vanilla, but black pepper as well, and that is Angel's Dust by Francesca Bianchi. This is the most gorgeous, powdery floral, lightness and darkness, so it's a contrast between the two. I call it my black ballerina, my black swan. It's that kind of fragrance. It conjures up good things, backed up by some little sinister things going on. You want to come to me? That's absolutely fine, but I will bite if you push me. This is what Angel's Dust comes and conjures up to me. It is powderiness. The powderiness comes from that iris, and the rose in this is beautiful as well. But I wouldn't say it's a true rose. The mimosa and the iris, the vanilla, the sweetness, the black pepper. The black pepper gives it some edginess, and that's what I love about it. Angel's Dust by Francesca Bianchi lasts for hours and hours. I would say all of these fragrances last for hours. The longevity and performance on these fragrances is off the scale. Well, it would be, wouldn't it? The next one I'm going to talk about is a unicorn fragrance for me, and it is backed up with lots of animalic notes, as much as you can cram into it. It is quite a challenging fragrance, but I love, as Joan Collins said in Dynasty once, a challenge, and I love a challenge. Yes, it's that kind of fragrance. That is Maii by Bogue Maii. This, let me tell you, every floral under the sun, backed up by animalics. Absolutely, I'm going to spray a little bit. Just a tiny bit. I don't even have to hold it up to my nose. I can smell it. Super strong, super challenging, super dark, mysterious. It conjures up an image of a woman in black, a man in black. Wow, it is like putting your nose into a floral, a bouquet floral, and being completely entranced. It is narcotic. So sensual. It is vintage, love vintage, a true vintage floral. I know that one batch from the next batch may differ, and that's what I love about fragrance. It can change, and I don't know if this has been reformulated or not. I don't care. It sings and shines. As soon as I smelt it, it kind of turned me on slightly. It's that kind of fragrance. Now, florals, you think, oh my gosh, they're going to be so lovely and pretty, and yes, they can be. But I do like pretty florals. And out of all of this list, there is probably one that is the prettiest. This one isn't so pretty. I don't want to call it an ugly fragrance. I like a fragrance that, yes, Claude, do you agree? Yes. So what else have you got to say, Claude? Yeah? I know. He's actually, as a footnote, whenever I spray this, or I spray, I'm not going to talk about it, Salome, or there is another one in this list I'm going to talk about, my cats go crazy. They want to lick me. It must have an animalic note or facet in it that drives them crazy, especially Claude. Oh, love you, Claude. But yes, Maii by Bogue Maii. It defies all boundaries. Now the next one I'm going to talk about is an erotic dirty jasmine, and that is Rogue Jasmin Antique. This smells almost rubbery, like the flower. It has a bit of vanilla and clove, and that's it. But it's essentially a jasmine soliflor, but it's indolic jasmine. It's decaying jasmine. It's jasmine that's dying and wilting. That's why it had to be in the list. It's after the jasmine has been picked and you've had it for several days, and it's just wilting, and the indolic smell of it is just so narcotic and intoxicating, almost fecal, to the point that you want to throw up. That's what Jasmin Antique Rogue is. I remember one reviewer, I can't remember who it was now, but he said if there was a lady who would wear this, it would be Fallon from Dynasty. And I thought, yes, because she was a naughty minx in Dynasty. Fallon was. Pamela Sue Martin. Who remembers Pamela Sue Martin? I mean, she left after the end of the 4th season thinking that life was, and acting was, going to come for her. It didn't. Dynasty then I think the 4th season around 1982, 83. You can tell I'm a dynasty freak. It was really lifting then, and she wanted to leave, but she would have worn this. It is a real 80s powerhouse fragrance, vintagey, jasmine antique, for that classiness, but underneath it you've got that deep dark gothic vibe going on, and the whips are coming out. Now the next one is the most gothic rose of them all, I think, and the best rose in my opinion. Dominique Ropion, Portrait of a Lady by Frederic Malle. And this has a little bit of jamminess to it. It's slightly piquant though. It's slightly piquant, épicé. I can't think of the word in English. Spicy. Because sometimes I think in French and sometimes I think in English. So it's slightly spicy from the cloves, and but the rose is there. It's a pure red dark rose. It's what Dracula's mistress would wear. It's what Mina would wear in Dracula, or Lucy would wear in Dracula. It's that type of, oh my God, he's coming for me. He's just about to take a bite. And then the magic happens. Portrait of a Lady. Rose, pepper, patchouli, jammy, raspberry. This is an older version I have. I have smelt the newer version. I think the newer version is not as sweet. This is just slightly sweeter from the jamminess of the raspberry, but the rose is at the forefront. The rose is there. It's got a sting in its thorn with the patchouli, and it's a stunning fragrance. Portrait of a Lady. The best rose fragrance in my opinion. Now the next one is of a complete contrast, but there is something still a tiny bit sinister going on in it, and that is Serge Lutens Fleurs d'Oranger. It's an orange blossom scent, so yes, it's definitely floral, backed with citruses that give it some sweetness, with a little bit of hibiscus which gives it some lightness and some light baby breath, as I call it. But the cumin in this is playing a role in there. It's not 100% there. It's at the backbone. Not at the backbone. It's at the back of it. It's as though it wants to push forward, but the orange blossom is taking centre stage. But it's still slightly sinister. When you first spray it, it's pretty. It's so sweet from those citrus notes, but as it dries down, the cumin comes through, combined with the orange blossom, and the cumin, which is a spicy note, slightly, ever so slightly body odorish, but not. It's still pretty. I think a pretty vampire would wear this, as opposed to an ugly vampire. I don't know. I'm talking tosh, aren't I? Serge Lutens Fleurs d'Oranger, or as I sing it, I'm not good at singing, Fleurs d'Oranger. The next one is for all of those gothic nymphs, those gothic fairies in all of us. Anais by Cacharel. This is a spicy floral. It's all about purple florals, white florals, hyacinth, slightly animalic, very vintage, and this is a first formula that I have. And it, when I spray this, I feel ever so mischievous, but I feel, well, I don't want to say I feel like an imp, because an imp can conjure up negative connotations, but I feel ever so slightly, I'm really, really playful, but I'm going to go in and bite you. This is what this does. It has again, lightness, but darkness. And I think the girl or the guy that wears this has to have some confidence and thinks to themselves, yes, I'm a gothic bitch and I'm gonna kick ass. Anais, Anais by Cacharel. Strong and potent, a deep but light gothic floral. The penultimate one is one that is a green floral, but again has spiciness to it, has an edginess to it. It has a, I'm really lovely, but you want to bite me? I'll bite you, but 10 times worse. It is Cabotine de Grès. And I have several formulas here. I have also, just picking up here, I have another vintage formula here. This is in a spray formula. This is a 50 ml. I think this is a 30 ml splash on. This is potent. This is all the greenness, all the stems, all the leaves, all the flowers, the whole bouquet. In the 90s, we were all wearing this, and this came out before Le Poison Tendre, Tender Poison. So, did Tender Poison have a nod to this? Because this came out in 1990. Tender Poison came out in 94. And I think they are such a close match to it. This is a very close match to it. And also, I would say Romance by Rasasi. However, I chose this one because it is more deeper and darker and gothic, and I don't think it's as wearable as Rasasi by Romance. Let's just, do you know what? I just love the whole bottle. I love the whole vibe of just not spraying, just popping it on your wrist and just inhaling that aroma. Do you know what? There's a film I remember, and it's called The Secret of My Success. And in that film, Michael J. Fox is driving this cougar, his boss's wife. His boss is his uncle, so it's his aunt by marriage. He's driving her home, and she is getting the perfume out, and it's one of those 80s films, and she just dabs it like that. Yes, we all know that, don't we? We all know that feeling. Cabotine de Grès. Spicy, green florals, gothic. It conjures up mysticism, and it conjures up spells of floral aromas, and I love it. And finally, not just because of the bottle, but because I know there is an orchid note in here, but I don't really pick up on that because I'm not a fan of this fantasy orchid note. But I detect, when I say lilies, it's like a lily accord, because you cannot actually produce lily in a fragrance as a note. So again, it's like a bit of a fantasy note, I suppose. However, I love it. Ange démon de Givenchy. And this, for me, this is an original 2006 formula. It opens up with brightness. That's what I love about a lot of these fragrances. They open up with brightness, tempt you in, and then the darkness comes in, and it's like these animals are roaming around the forest, and they're like half human, half animal, and they're eating on vegetation. I don't know. I conjure up. It's like that film from Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Those scenes. This is what I think of when I wear this fragrance. The florals in this are beautiful. Oh my God, I need to wear this more. I have Another vintage bottle here, another vintage backup, which I'm using more of that one. I should really use more of this one. But yes, as you can see, look at the colour of them. This is my, probably one of my ultimate favourite Givenchy fragrances. Uma Thurman, who was the face of it all those years ago, 15 years ago now or more, she did the campaign justice, and now it's all about L'Interdit, which is beautiful, and I love L'Interdit. That's probably a close second. This is actually probably my most favourite and beloved Givenchy deep dark gothic fragrance. It has some vanilla, it does have some sweetness in there, but it has this oak note, this oak wood, and those decaying florals again. So if you've enjoyed my video while I'm just fanning myself here, because ladies of a certain age glow, I'll say goodbye, and as Elvira says, unpleasant dreams. Till the next time. See you then. Bye.